Hey, what's up? This is Mark Lopes from Metal Church of Rasta Boss Band. Let us pray. And you're listening to Aftershocks TV. And don't forget to keep it fucking metal. Yeah.
All right, thanks everybody for tuning in to another episode of Aftershocks TV, and we've got a real special guest joining us today on this episode. You'll know him as the guitarist from legendary stoner rock stalwarts, the mighty FU MANCHU, and he's here today to talk about his new band, or bands I should say, both Slower and Big Scenic Nowhere. We got Mr. Bob Balch with us here on Aftershocks. Bob, thanks for coming on with us, man.
Thanks for having me, you guys. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too, Bob. Thanks for coming on, man. Well, let's get right into it, Bob. Like I was just talking about, Slower, the new supergroup. It's got 5 doom-laden versions of tracks from the legendary thrash metal legend Slayer. And, man, you got quite the lineup on this doom metal lineup. I mean, if anyone's into doom metal, they're going to love this lineup. Obviously, you've got the another legendary figure in the stoner rock scene, ex-Caius and an obsessed bassist Scott Reeder. You got Peter from Lowrider on bass. You got Esben from Monolord on drums. And, of course, you got the duo vocalists, the female vocalist, Laura Pleasance from Kylisa and Amy Barry Smith from Year of the Cobra. So, Bob, man, I mean, just, I guess, give us a rundown, if you don't mind, of how this project, or this band, I should say, really was initially conceived by you. When did this all come together?
About 4 years ago. And I teach guitar for a living when I'm not touring and stuff. So I was teaching somebody South of Heaven, and they're a beginner, so we had to slow it down. Okay. And I thought it sounded really cool, slowed down. And so I have this pedal called a drop pedal, and I just lowered the tuning real quick and played it. And I was like, wow, that's pretty heavy. Someone should call that slower, you know, and as a joke. And then I went home and went online and found like the Slayer font generator and just put slower in there, and then saw it. And I was like, that looks pretty damn cool, man.
Nice. I
gotta follow through on that. And so I just kind of kicked it around for a bit, and then I met the drummer of Poison Idea backstage at a FU MANCHU show in Portland. Mm-hmm. And we got to talking about music and stuff, and we kept in touch over the years. And then during COVID, he was like, send me some jams. And I'm like, well, I'm doing this thing. I've been messing around with these Slayer riffs, really slowed down, like heavy Slayer riffs. I call it slower. And he's like, dude, send me that shit. And I sent him some stuff, and he was like, let's do it. And I was working so much during COVID because, you know, people were all stuck at home and everything. A lot of people were signing up for lessons, which was, you know, it's kind of cool, kept me busy. But I waited too long, and unfortunately he passed away like the day I sent him the tracks, which totally fucking spooked me. And I was like, you know what, I'm not even going to see this through. This is just weird, you know.
Oh, it was the day you sent the tracks. Oh, wow.
I sent the tracks in the evening, and when I woke up in the morning, I didn't see a response or anything. And I was like, fuck, he hates them, you know. And then later on that day, I was just scrolling through fucking Blabbermouth or something, and I saw a Poison Idea drummer passes away, and I was like, "Oh, dude,
shit,
it was fucking weird. It was really weird timing, and I only knew the guy for about a year, and you know we talked a lot during COVID, and he was a sweetheart, and yeah, it sucks, but so I shelved it for a year, and then once you know, COVID's rolling on and we're all stuck at home, and I saw the drummer Monolord was posting stuff about collaborating online, and I was just like, whatever, I'll just send it to him and see what we do with this. And he kept it alive. I got to hand it to him, because if it wasn't for him, I would have been like, fuck it, it's a weird idea anyway. And he's like, no, this is killer. We got to keep pushing this. And so we just started reaching out to people we knew to see if they want to get involved, and the lineup just kind of fell into place, which is how you see it right there.
Sure, yeah. Well, I mean, like as I was saying before, anyone who's into doom metal is very familiar with all these individuals, musicians, and me personally, I'm a huge fan of, when it comes to doom metal, of having the female vocals. I think it's just something about it that just, you know, meshes so well with the ambiance of the music and everything. So I mean, how did you go about really choosing who to be on this record, and especially, you know, with getting both Amy and Laura on vocals?
Yeah, so once I started sending stuff to Sweden to get drums, and then we were talking about who would get to sing, and I reached out to Laura because I've known her for a while. I wanted female vocals too. I figured like if we're going to slow this down and make it a little bit different, we might as well try to make it as different as possible. Because if you had like a screaming dude over it, you know, it would be fine. It would work, but then it would be kind of predictable. Then I wanted someone to actually sing on it and make it, you know, a little bit more ambient sounding. So yeah, Laura from Kylesa sang on South of Heaven first, and then her schedule got really busy, and so we were like, all right, well, you know, let's just see who else we can get involved. Maybe we could get a bunch of people to do this. And he gave me a list of suggestions, and I heard Amy's voice. So I'm like, oh, that's it right there.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, she's so rad. And so we sent all the things to her, and she was like, yeah, let's do this, and just killed it. You know, so that was really cool. And, I mean, I'm aware you're the Cobra, but I was aware of them beforehand. But working with her, it's just, yeah, it's crazy to hear her tracks isolated. I'm like, how the fuck is she doing this? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then actually, I played a gig with You're the Cobra with this other group, Yawning Balch, that I do with the guys in Yawning Man, and got to actually see her play, and it was rad. So yeah, and then we got Scott Reeder from Caius. I've done numerous things with him. I love his bass playing. I've known Peter for years from Lowrider. So yeah, we just kind of emailed people we were thinking about, and the wish list kind of, you know, became reality. So it was cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
no, definitely. Yeah, I mean, just, you know, going over the 5 tracks that you did pick for the record. I mean, obviously the 3 out of the 5 are from Seasons in the Abyss, and obviously South of Heaven, of course, is from that record. And then you have the Antichrist, which is off of Show No Mercy. I mean, was it difficult to figure out which songs you wanted to pick from the band's catalog? I mean, how did you go about the song selection with that?
Well, South of Heaven was the first one, and that one kind of, you know, once I heard what it sounded like slowed down, I was like, okay, here's what we got to find is if the riff is really gnarly and fast, if you slow it down too much, you're not really going to even recognize it anymore. Because I was fucking with like Rain and Blood and shit like that, but yeah, so it's got to be something that you can already sort of hum in your head. And Seasons has a bunch of songs that are like mid-tempo for Slayer.
Yeah.
And I love that record. I mean, that came out right when I was like figuring out the guitar. Well, I think, what is that, 91? I think I was maybe like 13 or something. But yeah, that record was a big one for me. And trying to play War Ensemble as a kid, I was like, I can't fucking play this fast. How do they jump from string to string like that, you know? And so as an adult now covering it, I was like, I fucking nailed it, but not really, because it's slowed down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I listened to A Decade of Aggression. So when I drive an hour to FU MANCHU practice every Thursday. So every once in a while I'd throw that on and listen to it, and then just be like, oh, this is kind of a hummable riff. You know, you could kind of picture it slowed down. Yeah, that's how the Antichrist came about. And I started fucking with a couple of other ones, but yeah, those are the ones that stuck. But right now we're starting an EP of 3 other ones. They're old Slayer songs. So I don't know. It's interesting to hear how that shit kind of presents itself when you slow it down and tune it down. And
hey, Bob, when I heard it, obviously when I heard the concept, slower doing Slayer covers, so I never got the concept. I'm just a dumb fuck, so I never picked up that as slower Slayer songs. But when I listened to it, I actually forgot I was listening to Slayer. So I'm a huge Slayer fan. I know the songs, but when they're slowed down, you can hear the arrangements. They're almost slowed down so your brain takes it in, because Slayer just comes at you like a sledgehammer. Yeah. So when you're walking around doing shit like walking the dog or just driving or whatever, you forget you're listening to Slayer tracks by you guys, which is awesome because it's not just an EP of covers, because they've been done to death and whatever, and they're great for just kind of throw away, listen to it once and then never listen to it again. And I was looking at some of the reviews, but I like to listen to it first and then read the reviews, because reviews can play with your head a little bit. Yeah, like with Metal Hammer, Metal Injection, whatever. And the reviews that I've seen have been absolutely stellar. They've been so solid. But for 2 questions on this. Do you take notice of those reviews? And before you answer that, when you release this, what's your personal expectation of what's this likely to happen, or where's it likely to go?
Well, I guess to address the second question, I don't even know. I mean, honestly, I really like teaching guitar, and I like sitting in this chair surrounded by amps and guitars and just talking guitars with people all day. So I was thinking like, well, if I release this, it just, you know, will hopefully ripple into the future where somebody hears it like 20 years from now and goes like, oh, this dude's still teaching the guitar. I mean, I'm a lifer at this point. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
else
yeah.
You know what I mean? So all these things I'm doing are hopefully setting up things in the future that I can continue to just sit in my garage and play the guitar and just shoot the shit with people and make money doing that. But I don't know. I didn't really plan too far ahead. I mean, there's talk of doing some shows and stuff, which I would and checking out. Yeah, that would be really fun. I'm toying with the idea of doing other throwing other bands into that treatment and seeing what happens.
Like who? Can you say who they are?
Well, I've been listening to a lot of thrash metal lately, and just with that mindset, like, would this sound cool slowed down? And I don't know. I mean, Morbid Angel.
Nice.
I've been listening to a lot of old Sepultura. First Death Angel record.
Yeah,
I was playing Evil Priest and going like, shit, this might be kind of cool too.
Yeah.
It would have to be stuff that people kind of already know. You know, I don't want to get too obscure. But I don't know. Maybe it'll just stay how it is and do it that way. I mean, I fucking love Slayer, and hopefully those guys hear it and dig it. I mean, Gary Holt gave us the thumbs up online, so that was really cool.
Yeah, that was one of my next questions. I need the Slayer guys come back, so that answers that one. But I read the story about that the beginner guitar player and, you know, slowing it down or whatever. Does that kid or whoever that was has any idea of this concept?
No. And it was so long ago too. I don't even remember what student it was. I just remember laughing and going, "Oh, this would be rad." Actually, I do kind of remember the student, because when did Motley Crue's The Dirt come out?
About 2 or
3 years ago.
Okay, so it was before that, but I remember teaching that kid during The Dirt, and after that movie came out, he showed up with a full-on like hair metal haircut.
Oh, really?
Now I remember who the kid is. Hopefully he sees this. I mean, I was like, dude, you're fucking going for it. And he's like, I'm getting a lot of attention from like middle-aged women with this haircut. And I was like, fuck yeah, you are, dude.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, because he was like maybe 20 and just trying to figure out, you know,
going on. I get it.
The hair metal thing. But yeah, so I was teaching that kid, and yeah, I don't know. We laughed about it. I don't even know what that kid's up to, but hopefully he sees this and goes, shit, I kind of lended a hand.
That was me. Yeah.
Nice. Nice, man. Well, Bob, just to switch gears here, obviously, as we were talking before we came on here, it's not just slow. You got new music coming out from. You've got a brand new album from Big Scenic Nowhere now. Right now, today is Thursday the 1st, and so it comes out tomorrow, February 2nd. So by the time everyone is seeing this, they'll be able to go ahead and check out this record. And The Waydown, obviously, is the name of the album. I mean, I know it's early in the year, but I got to say, man, it's already got to be up there, one of the best heavy rock albums of the year right now.
Oh, wow, thank you.
Yeah, this is, I think, the best work you guys have done, in my opinion, out of the EPs the records.
Yeah, I appreciate that a lot. That album was like 3 years in the making. So
really?
It's funny how like these things are just going bang bang like week after week. But I'll be silent for a bit until, you know, Fu Manchu's got a record coming out in May, a double record. So that'll be my the next release that I'm part of. But yeah, that one comes out Friday. Big Scenic Nowhere, and yeah, it's 3 years, and it's mostly it's jams from the last record.
Okay.
And then there was a time during COVID when Gary and I went into the studio, Red Barn Studios, and we just recorded guitars with we recorded guitars with a drum track. So, you know, I'd program a drum track or whatever, and we would just jam, and then that way I could go home and that stuff's on the grid, and I could kind of move it around and organize it. So it's partly live jam stuff that that Tony Reed has cut down to make songs and put vocals on, and part of it is out of jams that Gary and I did. And I think it was like 2021 maybe.
Okay.
And then the Hall & Oates cover was just something we threw together to be like, oh, this will be fun to fuck around with. So it's kind of it's over the course of a few years, but I think the album sounds pretty coherent, given that you know it's kind of all over the place timeline wise, but yeah, I'm pretty proud of it. It came out pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that you kind of, I guess, just kind of alluded to, I feels like the songs on this record, it's a little more song oriented than jammy. Yeah. Would that be correct? You'd say?
Yeah. So the Way Down, like that song was a 20-minute jam, and that was like the last jam. I think we got together for 2 days when we recorded that stuff. I mean, it's hard to remember like the timelines. I'm thinking back, like maybe that was just from the 2 days from 2021, everything on that record. But anyway, yeah, it was like a 20-minute jam. It was the last jam of the day, and Tony Reed just threw this riff out. He's like, let's try this. And then it's weird with those guys how the structure will just write itself. You know, you got to clean it. It's like you got to pick it up and dust it off and go, what the fuck is this? But yeah, everything you're hearing on that song, the Waydown, it all kind of just wrote itself. And then it's a matter of going home and looking at it. I mean, I'm a dork. Like I'll write it up like a timeline with pencil and be like, all right, this is this section, that's this section. And then go, well, I could use this pedal instead and I'll re-record my part. But most of it just kind of writes itself. But we chop it up and trim the fat a little bit. So that one was pretty jammy. Western Surf was a jam one. But the other ones I think were the organized kind of on the grid things.
Yeah,
I'm loving the cover, that album cover. Tell me about that. It's like something from like MC5 or something from the 1970s, like a Tangerine Dream or something. That's
yeah, I love Tangerine
that's awesome.
Dream's artwork. Yeah, the guy that did the artwork for the first few EPs and full lengths, his schedule got extremely busy. And so he was doing, I mean, he's doing stuff for like New York Times now and like all kinds of like posters for like Def Leppard and shit. So he's like, yeah, I don't know. And we weren't on a timeline. We had no deadline, but I don't know. I just was like, I don't want to wait around. So a good friend of mine who I've known for years, John McGill, did that cover. And I just sent him the other covers and I'm like, hey, could you do something sort of along those lines? Cause I really like the artwork that on Yes albums.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, it's like every album kind of relates to the previous one and so on and so forth. So yeah, I think he did a great job. And my friend John McGill did the artwork for the Bob Balch records. He's done artwork for FU MANCHU records before. So yeah, it was a pleasure working with him. And that's the deal.
Well, with the title track, the Waydown. That's speaking of that track. I mean, one of the things that sticks out on that, man, that I didn't realize was, I mean, we all know that. Tony's obviously a great, vocalist and guitar player from Moss Generator for years and all his projects. But man, he could fucking play bass. I mean, he kills it on this whole record. But that song particularly, it almost reminds me like he's Glenn Hughes up there doing something, man. He just is phenomenal at that. I mean, you were saying before about the songwriting. So these songs now really start with just you kind of messing around, huh? And just coming up with an idea, just kind of piecing it together, like you said?
Yeah, a lot of them are from Gary from Yanni Man. Like he'll plant a seed. Okay. We'll all get in the studio and nobody knows what's going to happen. And he'll be like, here, check this out. And he'll just start playing. And then we all kind of fumble around until we figure out our parts. And then we're just off and running for 20 minutes. Then it kind of writes itself. But yeah, Tony Reed is, I mean, anything that guy does is insane. Like drums, bass, guitar, vocals, mixing, mastering. It's kind of gnarly. It weirds me out because I'm like, I don't know how you have like, I don't know, that much control over every aspect of all that stuff. And he's better than most people at all of it. Yeah, it's weird. So it's a pleasure to work with him too. Cause I mean, when I hear what he does to the songs and then how he mixes it and everything, it's exactly, I'm like, oh yeah, that's totally what I would want to hear.
Nice.
So
I know, Bob, you said that obviously you teach guitar and the whole slower came from that with that student. But talk to me about playthisriff.com because I jumped on board today and I was obviously looking at all like Anthrax and all the great players and the Decapitated were on there, shit like that. So talk to me about that a little bit and tell our viewers what to expect if they jump on board.
So that started, I think, it's been a long time, around 2008. And I was always kind of fearful of computers, like, because I just had the shittiest computer on earth. I'd turn it on, and I'd have to go surf and then get breakfast and come home, and it would still be booting up.
Nice.
I'm like, how does anyone get anything done with? I mean, it's 2006 or whatever.
Yeah.
But I got a Mac, and I realized how user friendly it was, and I saw the little camera thing, and I'd never even seen what my fingers looked like playing. And I was like, oh, this is weird. Like, I don't play in front of the mirror or any of that shit. So I was like, looking at my hands going, that's a weird thing to do. And then I started thinking like, well, I could probably like teach Fu Manchu songs. And I was originally just going to put the videos on like iTunes or something. And then I thought about, well, people could like steal them and share them like people were doing with music at the time. So if I bought a site that had like a subscription based thing and had a firewall, and you had to like access it once you paid. Then I could put all the videos on that side. And so I started just stockpiling Fu Manchu ideas. It was originally just gonna be a Fu Manchu website for that, and then I thought I should get a band or two to help promote it if I could get them on board. And Exodus was the first band that I reached out to, and they were like, "Yeah, let's do it." And I was like, "Fuck, that worked. That's crazy." And so I went and interviewed Exodus, the bass player from Exodus, and in doing so, befriended their tour manager who became our tour manager on the road and saved our life numerous times in the Fu Manchu van, which is a whole nother story. But yeah, so Exodus, and then I just started to make like a, I mean, for lack of a better term, I would just drunk dial bands. You know, at night I'd be writing down like, that would be rad. I'd go through my record collection and be like, this dude, I wonder, you know, if he'd be into it. And then I would just send out like 100 emails and then wake up in the morning and be like, oh, I got like 5 responses. That's cool.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good percentage. Yeah. Any bands that you want? Any bands not on there that you're looking for? Anyone specific that you're kind of
I mean, there's so many. I would love to see. I would like to see Fugazi on there just because the guitar work on there is very, very strange. I emailed Ian, but I never heard back. But
okay.
I mean, I could just go on and on though, like about all the old hardcore bands I'd like to see, jazz guys I'd like to see. I mean, shit, I don't know how much time you guys have, but yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of a lot of old thrash metal shit I like to see. Yeah. Like stuff that I'd want to see stuff that people have a hard time figuring out or a hard time playing, and I also want stuff that's like really easy for me because it would be cool for like a beginner, you know.
Well, you did have Alex Lifeson on one of your on a Fu Manchu, so you could get
I mean, Rush
Alex
would be,
on. Yeah.
There's another
one.
Yeah, you know? Rush would be insane, and all that shit.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. Well, Bob, I mean, you've got really just a smorgasbord really of different styles of rock and metal that you've obviously not only been involved with, but as you've been talking about, I mean, with Play This Riff, even all the stuff you've done outside of Fu Manchu, I mean, obviously with Big Scenic Nowhere, like you said before, Bob Balch is really jammy. You've got the slower stuff, Doomy. You've got Sun Sail Club, which is more like punky and, just really aggressive stuff. I mean, and obviously, Play This Riff, like you said, you've got anywhere from Venom to like Reverend Horton Heat. You got like everything on there. So it really tells me that you're not just really a very prominent musician in a legendary band, but also a huge fan of music, especially obviously rock and metal as well. I mean, when it comes to like you choosing maybe what to do outside of Fu Manchu, whether it's with the projects, the bands, or even with Play This Riff or whatever you do, your lessons. I mean, how do you really go about choosing what you want to do and not do and sort of delineate, from all this different, I guess, plate of things that you can be doing? How do you do that?
I mean, it's just, I guess, inspiration, Sometimes I'd want to sit down and play something really heavy. And other times I want to sit down and play something kind of mellow, Okay. And I can't really force it. So it's whatever at the time is like, yeah, do this. And it's just seeds that get planted everywhere. And I got ADD, so I got to be like, all right, these seeds have to grow, or else, because I got too many fucking seeds laid out everywhere. and then I have to like make sure that this one needs to. I have to pay attention to this one. I actually have to like write it in a fucking calendar, like do that this day, asshole. Like, don't just sit around.
You're time blocking here. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, I fire myself, I rehire myself. It's a whole thing. But I don't know. It's just, but some days I just want to play mellow shit, and other days I want to play heavy shit, and then that just fucking. Let's see what happens with the inspiration side of things. But yeah, Play This Riff. That was really fun to do, to interview all those musicians. Yeah. And so with picking those people, I would just look at either my record collection and go, oh, that would be rad. Or I would go to venues in town. I live in San Diego, and I'd see, who's coming to town. And then I'd be like, oh, that club's like 10 minutes from my house. I'll go there and interview people.
Yeah, and try and grab them.
So that kind of, that's how the Venom stuff came along, and a lot of those bands they're all filmed at Brick by Brick, Casbah,
okay, nice,
Belly Up, and House of Blues in San Diego. Yeah.
Sweet,
great venues. Yeah, I used to live down here myself, so I love.
Oh, you did? Where'd you live?
Yeah, I've got Mission Valley, Point Loma, Claremont, mostly around
mid-area. Yeah, right on. Yeah. I'm well familiar with all that shit.
Yeah, hell yeah. So, I mean, one thing I read too about you, Bob, you are a natural born left-handed, correct? But you play right-handed, obviously, guitar. How did you wind up doing that? I mean, I wanted to know, is there any technical advantage or something that you kind of maybe have because of that? I would assume something you could do.
Yeah, I mean, it's strange to me that people like play the guitar and their dominant hand is doing the strumming, because there's so much more shit going on over here. You know what I mean? So I played upside down for a long time when I was a kid, and it sounded like shit. And I was like, oh, I'm never gonna be able to play this thing. And you know, I had no idea the strings were upside down. You know, I bought like a chord book and tried to make the chords, and they sounded like shit. And I bring the guitar into the place that I ended up working at, and that's how I met Brad and Fu Manchu, but that's another story. And I'm like, will you guys tune this? And then I bring it home and it still sounded like shit. And then I took lessons at that store, and the first thing the guy did was flip over the guitar, and he's like, do it that way. And I'm like, oh, that's better. Thank you. I didn't know. And he's like, here, this is how you play One from Metallica. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm fucking doing it. Like, because that's a pretty easy move to do.
Yeah.
And then I was hooked ever since. And I've been playing every day since then for, you know, forever.
Bob, we're talking about, you know, different projects and different musicians, and, you know, we're kind of jumping around in that. We didn't even talk on about Fu yet, but like, who are your influences? Like when you were, you know, 13, 14, what made you pick up a guitar, listen, go to a concert? Where did you pull it from? Because, you know, Matt and I come from obviously different sides of the world, but, you know, our introductions were early teens, and it was whatever band it was. Mine was like Thin Lizzy, Saxon, Maiden, you know, Judas Priest, whatever. Where did you come from at that age to build upon what you are today and what your repertoire is becoming?
I mean, pretty much the bands you just mentioned also, you know. So I'm 46. My brother's 10 years older than me, and he got shipped off to the Army for, you know, he was kind of, my parents couldn't control him or whatever. He was into the heavy metal.
Okay.
So,
all right. Okay. Yeah.
So he got shipped off and left behind his guitar and his heavy metal records and shit. And so I would go through those, and yeah, I mean, that opened my eyes a lot. I still have the guitar. It's like an old nylon string guitar, and try to play AC/DC shit on that and everything. But yeah, I mean, growing up, it was AC/DC, fucking early Metallica shit, Maiden for sure, like all that stuff. Sabbath. My brother was trying to get me into Dio era Sabbath. I was like, fuck that, Ozzy or nothing. But now that I'm older, I love both.
Yeah.
And yeah, just going through those records and growing up in the 80s and stuff. I mean, MTV actually played music videos, and you had Headbangers Ball, and I would record Headbangers Ball every Saturday and get up Sunday and just sit there and watch all those videos over and over again. That was pretty rad. A lot of that was like hair metal stuff, but then I heard like punk rock, and I was like, wait, what? Like I went to Tower Records to go, you know, I would just go through the records and buy whatever looked cool, and DRI Violent Pacification had a fucking dude with a bayonet and, you know, a skeleton. And I was like, that looks insane. And then I bought another DRI cassette that had like 30 songs on it for like $5. And I never even heard them. And I'm like, this is like the hardest working band ever. Like they're a band for the people. 30 songs, $5. And I put it on at home, and I thought my tape player was broken because it's so fast. And, and then that opened up a lot of shit. I was like, well, what else is out there? And then the Misfits and Black Flag and Bad Brains and all that shit started to present itself. But that DRI cassette, I was like, what the fuck is this? That was a big one for me.
You ever stop becoming a fan? Like the reason I ask that, I tend to ask these in interviews because, like, I'm a big rock and metal fan. I'm jumping on Blabbermouth, and I know what's coming out, who produced what, where, when, and who's guest musician, what tours coming through town. So I said this recently, and I said, if I was in the biggest metal band in the world, I'd still be a fan by the back, buying Classic Rock magazine and whatever. Do you ever stop becoming a fan and know what's going on in the business, or are you, because you're a full-time musician, you're in the business? Does that stop, or you just continue on as you always been?
No, I'm still a fan. I mean, I listen to a lot of the same shit I grew up listening to, like, every day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, dude, we toured with Motorhead, and just like even like standing next to Lemmy, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Nice.
Or like we met Devo, and I almost fucking had a heart attack.
Holy shit.
That kind of stuff. Like, I still get like starstruck and weirded out by I don't think that'll ever stop, really.
Okay, I love that. Yeah, I love hearing that, because I ask every musician, and I just can't imagine not being a fan, irrespective of whether you're a famous musician or not. So that's
it would be strange if a musician got like too big for his britches, and he's like, well, now that I'm so famous, I don't even care.
I don't know what's going on out there.
I mean, the biggest musicians on the planet, or biggest rock guys, would look at Lemmy and be like, dude, that's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it's Lemmy.
I can't believe I'm in the same room as that guy. But yeah, we've had a few moments touring in Fu Manchu where we got to meet some of our favorite musicians and collaborate with them, like Alex Lifeson
Yeah.
Keith Morris from the Circle Jerks is on a couple things with Foo. I mean, I played a band with Tony from the Adolescents called Sunset Club, and Scott Reeder from Caius is on there. Like, when we would play shows in that band, I would just look over at those two guys and just like, if you find any photos of us playing, I'm just grinning like an idiot. I'm like, oh my God, it's crazy.
Yeah,
I'm watching Tony sing and going like, dude, that's the fucking dude from the Adolescents. So, yeah, that's never gonna stop.
Sweet.
Yeah. Are you guys ever going to do anything else with the Sunset Club? Is that kind of done for?
Yeah, we're the record's recorded. All the drums, bass, vocals, and guitars are recorded. So we got a full length.
Okay.
That I was supposed to do leads today, but like I said, I was just like, I'm not really feeling it today, but I'll get to it. But yeah, I gotta go do some leads on that, and then we'll probably start mixing in like a week. I would assume like a week or two, and maybe have that out in the summer.
Nice. Okay.
That should be pretty fun too.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I think Heavy Psych Sounds, I believe, is going to reissue the earlier ones too, along with this one. So that'll be fun to put all three records out at once and let people dig into those.
Nice.
That's sort of like your home label now, right? You got all your stuff on Heavy Psych Sounds, it looks like, right?
Yeah, it's been a good relationship. I mean, the first thing I did with them was Big Scenic Nowhere, and Gary had known Gabe from that label for a long time, and yeah, it's been good. It's been good. I mean, I'm in contact with those guys every single day almost, because you know, with between Big Scenic and Slower and everything.
Yeah, very cool. Well, now I just want to ask one, a Fu Manchu question for you. You know, obviously you've been in the band, you know, almost about 30 years now, Bob, and obviously, you know, obviously Fu Manchu, man, it's just one of those special bands where, I mean, not just your, you know, stoner rock fans come out to see the band, you know, the fans in the scene or whatever. But I also, when I go to see you guys play all the time, I see and meet fans at those shows who are, they're not really into like the scene or nothing. It's just that they're fans that have loved the band from, you know, back in the 90s and early 2000s. And that's the thing is, you know, I mean, Fu Manchu, you guys weren't one of those bands that were, you know, all over MTV or anything. I mean, you really just did it the old-fashioned way, you know. I mean, just you put out consistently great music and toured relentlessly. Like you said, you guys are really reminding me of a band like Clutch. You know, you guys just had the same sort of philosophy, and that's how I think you've just garnished and kept this huge fan base for all these years. You know, so I guess over the last 3 decades since you've been with the band, I mean, is that sort of the philosophy of the band, just to keep things consistent, you know, musically and with touring? Because, like I said, you guys, especially here in the States, it's really hard for bands who haven't, like I said, been on the radio or MTV all the time to really keep that kind of fan base. It's not like Europe where once you're a fan, you know, you're a fan for life. It's so different here. So, I mean, has that been your guys' philosophy? Is just, you know, just do what you do and just do it consistently, sort of?
Yeah, I mean, we don't really like set out to be like, this is how we're going to do this shit. I mean, we just write music and we like hanging out with each other and we put out records and go on the road. And if people show up, that's cool. And I mean, that's why I was laughing, like 30 fucking years. I'd never, you know, I actually just go, I was 19 when we recorded that. And even then I was thinking, I was like, you know, this is going to be pretty cool, but you know, these things don't last very long. Bands are like a flash in the pan sometimes. And, but yeah, it's, I'm shocked we're still doing it. We just got done doing a double record that I know most bands say this, like our newest work's our best, but I think it's fucking amazing.
Nice.
And I think when the Fu Manchu double record comes out, like people are going to be like, holy shit, like these guys really, like they did something special. So yeah, we just look at like one day at a time, like let's get together on Thursday and fuck with some Brits, you know, that's about as far ahead as we plan, and until it becomes time to like, well, let's figure out when we're going to tour this year. But yeah, Fu Manchu's going to be out starting in May.
Okay.
And then we'll do a States run in September.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
And a Europe run in July and another one in October.
Is there new music coming with that, Bob? I know it's 18 since the last release, and is there new music coming with them?
Yeah, well, the double record coming out. We're trying to have the double record come out in May.
Okay, sweet.
So like before we start hitting the road, that would be ideal.
Hey, Bob, I got one last question from my side and then back to Matt. But how did the Alex Lifeson connection? I'm a huge Rush fan, so I need to know this.
So our manager knows their manager.
Okay.
And we were already doing an album with the intention of doing one long song on side 2, kind of like some Rush records, you know?
Sure.
and our manager just mentioned it to theirs, like, yeah, Fu Manchu's doing like a side 2, like just it's gonna take up the whole side. And he was like, would you guys be interested in maybe those guys would want to contribute something? And at first it was Getty and Alex were like, yeah, let's do that. And we were like, Jesus Christ, dude, that's like that's a lot. That's like a Rush record almost. You know?
Yeah. Caress of Steel right there.
and then Getty got busy. And so Alex is on board, which I still can't believe it. You know, every once in a while it dawns on me. I'll be like, oh, that's right, he's fucking on a Fu Manchu record. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And so like I had to email him and be like, oh, excuse me, Mr. Lifeson, I'm a big fan, and I was wondering if you wouldn't mind soloing in the key of C sharp at the 15-minute mark. And so I gave him, like, because it's a long song, I don't want to be presumptuous and give somebody just like fucking figure it out, dude. So like here's where we could use some stuff. And then he did something completely different, which was better.
Yeah.
And, and we were like, all right, fucking rad. That's cool.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great story.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Bob, so I mean, like you said, obviously now you got Slower out, you've got Big Scenic Nowhere out, Fu Manchu, you said double album coming out. I mean, Sun Sail Club, like you said, you're laying down the leads. I mean, I guess pretty much. I mean, every avenue you've got, every band project you got is pretty much firing on all cylinders right now. It seems like, huh? Anything else you've got in the works other than that, or that's enough, I'm sure, to keep you busy.
Yeah, that's a lot to keep me busy. That's a lot to keep me busy. I mean, when Yanni Balch played with Brant Bjork, and I was hanging out. He's Fu's old drummer, Brant. And we were just hanging out backstage listening to jazz records, and he's like, oh, we should do a jazz record. I'm like, fuck yeah. So I might go out there in I think like June and we just record some shit like that. But we've been emailing back and forth like, oh, we should do something like this Cannibal Adderley thing, or we do something this Soul Live thing or whatever. You know, we're going back and forth with ideas. So we'll see. I mean, he's really busy, and come May, Fu Manchu's gonna be really busy. But I think that'd be really fun to do.
Yeah. Yeah, so. Cannibal Adderley. I love him, man. That would be great if you did some of that, man. That's
yeah. There's a song off Phoenix I want to cover. I'll send it to him. But yeah, we'll see. I don't know, but I'm gonna be really fucking busy touring with Fu, and we're seeing if we can get some slower dates together, and Big Scenic. So I don't know. We'll see what the rest of the year brings, but yeah, Fu's the priority, and Fu's all everything's kind of falling in place as far as the tours are concerned. So it'll be good.
Awesome, fantastic. Love it. Well, in the meantime, everybody go check out Slower, the new record from Bob, and I mean, like I said, just great lineup on this doom metal supergroup you got here, and of course, Big Scenic Nowhere as well. The Waydown, the new album now, both albums now on Heavy Psych Sound. So, Bob, where should we send the listeners and the viewers to go, purchase the album and check everything out and keep up with everything you got going on? What's the best place? Or best
you can purchase them at Heavy Psych Sound's website. Okay. And then, just follow us on the social stuff, and we'll keep everyone posted as to what we're up to.
Awesome.
All right, fantastic. Once again, Bob Balch, man, we really appreciate you coming on and talking with us. And
thanks, Bob.
Yeah, man, we'll see you on the road with Fu or Slower, whoever you got coming on.
Awesome. Nice meeting you.